Good morning, happy people. Welcome to another wonderful day of World History 101. This is going to be chapter 11. I think I'll do it in two videos. That way it's not one long video and you can enjoy it at your leisure. So chapter 11 is the expansive realm of Islam. And this chapter starts us off talking about the Hajj. The Hajj, H-A-J-J, is the holy pilgrimage to Mecca. The Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, and it represents a rites of passage that all good Muslims must take. So the religion that we're going to be talking about in this chapter is known as Islam. So Islam literally means submission. It means submission to the will of God or submission to the will of Allah. Allah and God are the same being. So Allah of Islam, God of Christianity, whether that's Judaism or like Protestantism or Christianity, I kind of messed that up, but you caught it. It's okay. You got it. It's the same being. It's the same deity. Muslims are those who submit to God, and they are the followers of Islam. So the religion is not Muslim. The religion is Islam. The followers are known as Muslims. Islam begins in the Arabian Peninsula, and it later spreads to Persia and parts of the Byzantine Empire. Normally, when we talk about the Byzantine Empire, we talk about Judaism and later Christianity. Pay attention to the fact that prior to Muhammad, the Arabian Peninsula had been culturally isolated and economically underdeveloped. Most of the Arabian Peninsula is desert. There's little rainfall and there's very scarce vegetation. The Arabian Peninsula has very little arable land, A-R-A-B-L-E land. Arable land is land that we can use for farming. The Prophet and His World, that's our next subtitle. So Islam arose in the Arabian Peninsula during the 7th century BCE. Prior to the rise of Islam, the people of the Arabian Peninsula practiced tribal religions. There was a group of people in this region known as the Bedouin, B-E-D-O-U-I-N. The Bedouin are Arabian desert nomads who followed ancient tribal practices. The Bedouin are nomadic people. They're pastoralists. They're nomadic people who migrated through the deserts to find grass and water for their herds of sheep, goats, and camels. The Bedouin organized themselves into families and clans. This is going to be important later because as we see Muhammad and the Hagira, his migration to Medina, we're going to see him change the focus. And the focus is no longer based on loyalty to the tribe or the clan like it was underneath the Bedouin. Now loyalty is going to be tied to loyalty to the Islamic community. And we're going to call that the Ummah, U-M-M-A. All right. The Bedouin depended heavily on this kinship network group for support. And as a result, like we just said, they developed this very strong sense of loyalty to the clan. Arabia is part of a larger long-distance trading network. Pay attention to the important link in long-distance trade because Asian land routes are being abandoned for sea routes that connected to land routes in the Arabian Peninsula. The Bedouin are these nomads who are dominating the caravan trade route, and what they do is they provide safe passage guides for the merchants like through the desert. The nomads' dominance of the caravan trade is going to receive a boost from a very efficient invention called the camel saddle. So as a result of the camel saddle, it's a saddle you put on camels, the Arab pastoralists that we call the Bedouin are going to become the main suppliers of animal power throughout the region. As we study this chapter, again, we keep saying, pay attention to the importance of these trade routes to the spread of religion. Trade routes are essential. They are very important to cultural diffusion. So we're going to see on these trade routes, people of all different religions, different ideas, cultures, beliefs, exchanging ideas. These trade routes are going to be a means of spreading religion. Cool. All right. So Islam began with the Arabian desert people in the 7th century BCE. 7th century CE. Did I say BCE earlier? If I did, it's incorrect. Islam starts in the Arabian Peninsula in the 7th century CE, like Common Era, because yeah, Common Era. All right. The people of this religion had been exposed to many different religions because of their geographical location. They had already been exposed to Byzantine Christianity. They had been exposed to Judaism. And of course, in our recap from chapter 5, because it's Persia, basically, they had also been exposed to Zoroastrianism. Let's talk about Muhammad and his message. So Muhammad was born around 570 CE. Muhammad is illiterate. He's raised by his uncle because his parents are dead. Like his father died before he was born. His mother died by the time he was 6. So he's raised by his uncle, Abu Talib. There's no chance for formal education for Muhammad, so he is illiterate. The fact that he is illiterate is why there's such a heavy emphasis placed on the revelations that he receives that are later placed in the Quran, Quran. Because he's illiterate, initially the only job that's available to him is that of a camel driver. So Muhammad drives the camels across the Arabian Peninsula. He meets his future wife. Her name is Khadija. She's a wealthy widow. Khadija's 40, Muhammad's 25. They get married, and Muhammad becomes very concerned with the plight of his people. As he becomes concerned with the plight of his people, he starts going to the mountains to meditate. He doesn't like the fact that they're practicing, idolatry, which is like the worshiping of idols. And he starts receiving these visits from the Archangel Gabriel. This is the same Archangel Gabriel from the Bible. Later on in his life, Muhammad would receive revelations from God as well. So after a series of revelations, Muhammad becomes convinced that there's only one God, and his name is Allah, and he's also the same God of other religions, but just by a different name. Muhammad becomes convinced that not only is there one God, his name is Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger, but Muhammad also becomes convinced that he is the last in a series of prophets. So when we talk about Islam, understand that Muslims do not deny the validity of Jesus. They don't say that Jesus never existed. Instead, what they believe is that Jesus was a prophet, just like Muhammad. And Muhammad believes that he received the final and the greatest revelation. So he believed that he got like the final complete package for religion revelation. So Muslims do not deny the validity of Jesus. They just believe that he was a prophet. They do not believe that he reigns co-eternal with God. They don't believe that God needs a cosigner. They believe that God is God all by himself. He's complete, he's undivided, he's eternal. So it's not denying the validity of Jesus. It's just maybe saying that he doesn't have the power that Christians believe that he has. All right, cool. All right. Muhammad memorizes the contents of his revelations, and later on they're going to be compiled into the Islamic holy book, which becomes known as the Quran. So again, the Islamic holy book is the Quran, Quran. All right. I just dropped my earrings and they went that way. So remind me to find them when I get off of this lecture. Jesus Christ. These are my good earrings, people. Do you see my crown? Thought I'd jizz it up for you today. All right. Let's talk about Muhammad again. All right, so the religion that Muhammad preaches, we've already said, is called Islam. Islam means submission to the will of God. Muslims are those who submit to Allah's law. They are the followers of Islam. Let's talk about his migration to Medina. I kind of alluded to this earlier, but now we're going to talk about it. So there's a conflict at Mecca. And because Muhammad, who preached this strict monotheistic religion, and the Arab ruling elite are polytheistic. And in their polytheism, they're encouraging people to make pilgrimages to pay homage to or homage to their particular god. So when the people make these pilgrimages to Mecca, think about it. When they make a pilgrimage, they're going to spend money. So they spend money on housing, they spend money on food. They're basically like perpetuating, like, and encouraging economic stimulation in Mecca. But when Muhammad comes along and tells the people to stop worshiping all of these gods and making the pilgrimages, that is problematic for the old Arab elite. And that's because he's messing with the economic revenue of Mecca. So these older, richer, more established clan leaders, they are very upset because Muhammad is basically calling them morally wicked and greedy people. The merchants, they definitely saw Muhammad as an economic threat because they were the people who were profiting from the shrines to the various gods, the various polytheistic gods of the Arabian Peninsula. The most important shrine in Mecca is known as the Kaaba, K-A''B-A, or sometimes you see it spelled K-A-A-B-A, same place. It just means holy place. It's later, like initially when Muhammad is kicked out of Mecca and goes to Medina, it is not initially the cultural symbol of unity in Mecca, but when Muhammad returns and reclaims Mecca, the Kaaba is going to become the symbol of Islamic cultural unity in Mecca, and Muslims are going to make the pilgrimage to the Kaaba. Since the Kaaba, we've already said, was considered this holy place, people made annual pilgrimages to the religious site, and the pilgrims were seen as a source of economic revenue. So basically, whoever controlled Mecca controlled that wealth and controlled that prestige. All right, so there's lots of pressure being placed on Muhammad to stop saying that the established clan leaders are just economically greedy and they're not looking out for the best interests of the people and that they're morally wicked and sinful. So there comes an opportunity for him to leave Mecca and go to Medina to help the people of Medina deal with some issues that they have. Muhammad's journey from Mecca to Medina is known as the Hagira, Hijra. The Hagira literally means migration. And the Hagira is considered the official starting point, the formal starting point of Islam. It's during the Hagira that Muhammad insists that loyalty now be directed toward the Ummah, the Islamic community, as opposed to the Bedouin, the tribe, the clan loyalty. So loyalty to our community of believers, which is what the Ummah is going to be more important than loyalty to our family members based on tribe or based on clan. Cool? Okay. All right, so let's talk about the establishment of Islam in Arabia. So 630 CE, the people of Medina attacked Mecca and they conquered the city. That idea of warfare in Islam is known as jihad, Jihad. But understand that jihad is not just limited to holy war. So most of the time when we think about jihad, we think about it in the term of wiping out the infidel in the name of Allah, like the type of warfare that's portrayed on the news. That's only a component of jihad. Jihad also refers to the internal struggle. So external struggle is definitely holy war, wiping out the infidel in the name of Allah. But the idea of internal struggle deals with the idea of me against me. So it's me trying to be the best Muslim that I could be on a daily basis. And I'm not Muslim, I'm just giving you an example. Being the best Muslim that I could be on a daily basis. It's the idea of my internal struggles. So this is Stephanie versus Stephanie, and the flesh trying to win out over my Islamic duty. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So don't just be limited in what your definition of jihad is. There is a range of jihad. So once the Muslims take Mecca, they rededicate the Kaaba, that stone, they dedicate it to Allah. With the destruction of the idols and the images surrounding the Kaaba, on his return to Mecca, Muhammad becomes the sole leader of the Arabian people. There's some other components of Islam that you should know. And I think I'll start the second portion of Islam with that. I hope you're having a great day. Stay tuned for part 2. Bye.